It has been proven for a number of years that doing past paper is one of the most effective ways to do well in the exam as well as test. It is for that reason that today I'm here to look at the business study paper 1 for November 2024 with you. Our main focus today will be on question number 2, and question number 2 focuses on business environment. Let us see what do we have here. On 2.1 says name 2 types of diversification strategies. So what is a diversification? A diversification, it's a strategy where the company, they want to expand the product or service offering. They can do that in 4 different ways. However, in this exam, you are only asked 2. We are not only going to focus on what the examiner asked, we are going to do research and find out what are the other 2 strategies which you need to understand before you go to the exam, because that will help you to do well in your exam. Focusing on only the question that you are asked when you're practicing past paper is not the most effective way to do well in the exam. However, doing a deeper research about that expert helps you to do well in the main exam. So here are the 4 strategies of diversification. The first one is conglomerate diversification. What does that mean? It's when the business enters entirely on a new or unrelated industries or market. So it often through acquiring companies. So it will be a situation where the company is saying, we have been selling fruit for a number of years. Now we want to see how it feels to sell TV, how it feels to sell furniture. So they are going on a different kind of market or industry from where they currently at. That is called conglomerate diversification. Then the second one, it's vertical diversification. It's also known as vertical integration. It's generally expanding into different parts of the production process, either upstream or downstream. That is controlling distribution channel. So what could be an example? A car manufacturer could be expanding to aluminium industry to provide a raw material it needs for their production. So now the business is saying, we are a manufacturer. We know in our manufacturing process, these are the number of things that we need in the process. For that reason, what we're going to do, let us then decide to sit down and create our own raw material, right? So that is a vertical diversification or vertical integration. And then the third one is horizontal diversification. So what is horizontal diversification? It when they add a new product or service that are unrelated to the existing business, but it appeal to the same customer base, right? So it's different, but it appeal to the same customer base, right? And then the other one is concentric diversification. So it involves expanding to the products or service that are closely related to the company's current offering, leveraging existing skills or resources that they have. An example will be the company is selling headphones. Then they decide that they want to expand and offer wireless headphones. So now you know 4 types of diversification strategy. It's called concentric diversification, horizontal, vertical diversification, and conglomerate diversification. However, in the exam, you only had to answer 2. That is to provide only 2 type of diversification. Then number 2 says outline the advantages of intensive strategies, right? So now, what is an intensive strategy? It is a growth approach where the company focuses on increasing the market share, revenue by increasing the market share, right? So now, 2.2 want us to outline advantages of intensive strategies. You cannot outline the advantages without knowing what is intensive strategies. So it is that reason that I'm here to guide you throughout your preparation for the exam using the past papers. So, an intensive strategy is a growth-oriented approach where a company focuses on improving its competitive position with existing products or services by intensifying its efforts in existing markets or developing the new ones. This involves making most of what company already has by increasing the market share, revenue, and compatibility. So here are the more detailed look at intensive strategies. So your key component will be your market penetration. This involves increasing sales of existing products in an existing market through strategies like your price reduction, your increased advertisement, and your wider distribution. So you know that one of the best ways of market penetration is that you reduce the price so people will come and buy a lot at a lower price and therefore increasing revenue. Obviously through increasing the volume. And then the other one would be you advertising. You become more extensive in advertising. The company becomes more extensive in advertising for the products. And then the other one will be the market development. So that will focus on expanding into new geographic markets, either domestic or internationally, with existing products. So what do they do then when they're trying to increase it competitive position? It's by them saying, we have been in South Africa for a number of years. Let us see how Botswana and Namibia is doing. So that means you are leaving your country as an example to try and sell in different market. Thereby, you find yourself increasing the revenue that the company generate. What can be done as well as part of intensive strategy, it could be product development. So a product development, this involves creating and introducing new products or improving existing one with the same market. So in that case, you are sitting down and you're saying you want to go ahead and improve the current product. It can be in different number of ways where you improve. For example, you can say you are selling margarine and the margarine you are selling, it has less oil, and you've realized that people do not like margarine that has less oil. In order to improve products or be seen as it has improved by the customer, you then say, okay, let us do this. Let us go ahead and put more salt in the margarine. Then it will be seen as an improved product. So that is an example of the intensive strategies that the company try to work on if they want to increase their competitive position and also increasing their revenue. The main focus will be on the market penetration, which would include your price reduction, advertisement, market development, new geographic market, product development, and introducing new products or improving on the existing one. So that is me telling you the kind of things that you need to discuss when it comes to outlining the intensive strategies. So here you can see that you are provided 6 marks. The reason you have 6 marks is because you have to explain the kind of penetration strategy, intensive strategies that you have selected. Now we're going to move to 2.3. 2.3 says, read the scenario below and answer the question that follows. Mando Manufactures, or Mando Manufactures specializes in the production of winter blankets. disposes of the chemical waste from the manufacturing process into the local river in order to save the coast. So what are they doing? They are disposing the waste in the environment where they're operating. We all know that is dangerous for the community, and we know that it's dangerous for the environment, which include the animals that are in the sea, right? So now 2.3.1 requires us to name the Pursley factor that is applicable to in the scenario above. As I've already said, when we answer the question, we're not only going to focus on that one Pursley factor that we're going to be looking at. However, we're going to ask ourselves, what are these names defined as? Let us see what is this. P means political, E economic, S socially, technological, legally, and environmentally. So which one is affected by them disposing the chemicals or disposing the chemicals in the river. It is environmental. Why are we saying it's environmental? Because they're affecting the environment they are operating on. It's not political. It has nothing to do with politics. It's not economic. It has nothing to do with finance. How the economy is operating or the finance of the economy. It's not technological. We are not looking at the system failures. It's not legal. They are not being sued. So it definitely environmental as it affects the environment where they are operating in. Then 2.3.2 recommend ways in which MM can deal with challenges posed by the Pursley factor named in question 2.3.1. So, what will be the ways that they can do in order to ensure? So, what are the ways that they can do to ensure that they avoid what is happening in 2.3.1, which is destroying the environment? Obviously, they have to find the better disposable ways of these chemicals. They shouldn't dispose it in the river. They should save cost to ensure, set aside the cost to ensure that they are disposed in a manner that doesn't affect the environment. As we are about to go to the solution, we'll have a chance to see all the different ways they can look at that. Then we are moving to 2.4. 2.4 says discuss any two types of defensive strategies. So you will need to understand what is a defensive strategy in business. So a defensive strategy in business, marketing, and investment is a course of action which focused on preventing a company market share, profitability, and overall stability. Rather than aggressively seeking to gain a new market share, they're about to protect what they have by preventing competitors from taking it away. So, in essence, defensive strategies aim to minimize losses and maintain a competitive advantage in challenging market conditions. So, there are key aspects of defensive strategy. It's market positioning. One of them is market position. So, a market position is it's where you prioritize holding into existing market share rather than expanding into the new areas. And the second one is profitability. So where the focus is on maintaining profitability by protecting valuable customer and reducing the cost. The third one is competitive pressure. So what happened there is to aim to deter competitors from attacking by making unattractive for them to do so. And the fourth one, it's a risk minimization, where a defensive strategy is to focus on preventing or preserving capital and minimizing loss, especially during the market shutdown. Market retention is a defensive strategy, obviously, that emphasizes on retaining existing customer and building strong brand loyalty. So those are the types of defensive strategies. You needed to discuss only two. Remember, when you're discussing, you're going to have to state and say how the company is going to approach that defensive strategy. If you're saying that customer retention, what you're going to do, you're going to then decide to then reduce price, give them points, So the number of things that you can do. It was just the example of the things that you need to do in order to retain your customers. And then we're going to move to 2.5. 2.5 says read the scenario below and answer the question that follows. Last suppliers or last suppliers implement the new or the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act of 2003. They promoted Sandile for senior executive position to serve on their board of directors. 2.5.1, they said name the pillars of the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment, BE, applied by LS in the scenario above. So you basically need to say which part of BEE they have applied by appointing Sandile. It is a management control. So it's one of the pillars of BE that they've applied. However, you need to understand the 7 pillars of the BE strategies. What are those pillars? And you need to understand what is broad-based Black economic empowerment. This is a framework in South Africa that has 7 key elements or pillars. The first one is ownership, management control, skills development, enterprise, and supply development, socio-economic development, employment equity, and preferential procurement. So these pillars aim to foster economic transformation by promoting Black participation in all aspects of the economy. So the BE was introduced to ensure that previously disadvantaged background or people get to share in the economy. So here's the breakdown and the explanation of the BE or the 7 pillars. The first one is ownership. This element measures the extent to which Black people own and control companies. It focuses on the net value of shares, voting rights, and the influence Black stakeholders have on the business direction. So, what would be the example of that? One of the example is when they decide that they're gonna employ Ayanda and give Ayanda the share options. By giving Ayanda the share options, it therefore means that Ayanda will be participating in the ownership of the company. And as a Black person, that means they've applied the BE by giving Ayanda the shares. And the second one is management control. This pillar evaluates the involvement of Black individuals in the management and decision-making process of the company. It includes top management roles, right? So it means now when you are employing in the top management roles, you do consider employing people that are Black. You make them to participate in that company or in that company's revenue in the top management role. Then the other one is a skill development. So that's the third one. So this element focuses on investing in the development of skills amongst Black people that include training, leadership, and upskilling programs. What would be an example? It's when the company, for example, a training firm wants to employ the trainee accountants in their firm, they'll say they need 10 of them to be Black. So the reason they're saying that is because they are applying the BE strategy. And then in applying that, they ensure that people that are part of their training, leadership, and upskill programs will be a previously disadvantaged people. Then the fourth one is enterprise and the supply development. So this pillar supported the development of Black-owned business by providing financial support, mentoring, and other resources. So what would be an example in that case? And when they want to appoint a cleaner in one of the big companies and they say they would prefer to have a cleaning company that is owned by Black people or previously disadvantaged people. So that is when then they are applying enterprise and supply development. Then the socio-economic development, this element involves contributing to the development of community, often through initiatives in areas like education, health, and social development. So basically, they have big clinics which ensures that people of previously disadvantaged people, they get good education at lower prices, they get good health at lower prices, and also any development that is happening socially. What could be an example of that? It's, for example, when the government says they want to scrap medical aid, but everyone needs to benefit from the private hospital. That is obviously what is in the talk of lately. And then the sixth one is employment equity. So this pillar focuses on promoting equal opportunity for all employees, regardless of race, and ensuring a diverse workforce. So what happens in the workplace when they are about to employ, they sit down and they said, we want not to have only white or Indian people in the certain division or in that particular company, but we want to ensure that we have different expertise and people from different backgrounds. Therefore, we find white, black, coloreds, different race participating in that company. Then the last one, which is the second one, it's a preferential procurement. This element measures the extent to which companies procure goods and services from Black-owned business and promoting locally suppliers. So preferential procurement is when the suppliers, they said they will rank the people that have applied for the tender. Then when they do that, they will sit down and say, our main focus is that we get a company that is owned by previously disadvantaged individual. So they will score 10 points for that, and 90 points maybe will be based on price. Alternatively, they'll have 20 points based on the points that the owners of the company have earned based on the race of the owners. And then they'll then make a decision in terms of who they're going to point. So now that we have read all the pillars, we can confirm that management control is the correct answer for question number 2.5.1. In the question set up, you would have to name one pillar, not all the 7 that we've discussed. However, the reason that we are discussing all of them is because the question or your question might not be similar to this one, but they might ask you to say list all the 7. So in that case, you will be prepared to answer all the 7 pillars. And then when you move to 2.5.2, it says describe the purpose of the Broad Black Economic Empowerment Act, BEE. So you need to describe the purpose. We've already read the purpose. So the purpose is to of the BEE in South Africa is to ensure that the previously disadvantaged people are given opportunity to share in the economy. They were not able to share so much in the economy. For example, we didn't have NSFAS in the past. Now, when you go to university, you'll have NSFAS, which will pay for you, and then you subsequently be what you want to be. So our parents never had that advantage. So that is the advantage that came with the BE in terms of socio-economic development and as well as skills development. You'll be able to get the training if you were to complete your trainings and be successfully going to work where you want to work. Then 2.6, we need to explain ways in which business can comply with consumer protection. The number of ways the company can comply with the Consumer Protection Act. So, to ensure they are transparent, they are fair, honest in all their dealings with the customer. So that's the aim of the Act. So this includes providing accurate information about the goods and service they offer, offering the fair terms and conditions in terms of the sale of the goods or service, respecting customer rights. They should also be mindful of ethical marketing practice and avoid misleading advertisement. Consumer Protection Act, it aims to protect the consumer. What does it mean? If you are given 7 days to return the product with the refund, you should be able to get a refund if you return the product and the product is at the condition that it was when you took it from the shop. That means you have not used it. So if they refuse to give you the refund and you are taking it back at good condition within 7 days, that means they are not complying with Consumer Protection Act. So that is an example. And then here's the more detailed breakdown of Consumer Protection Act. We're looking at fair contractual practice. That is, there's a clear and understanding of agreement. Contracts should be written in plain language, easy to understand, and not contain unfair and unreasonable terms. So when the contract is written between the customer as well as the customer as well as what you call the supplier, whatever that is written should be plain English. That means everyone should be able to understand. Right to consult. If the customer enters into direct marketing agreement, they should be informed of the right to cancel their cooling off period. Usually it's 5 business days. You are able to cancel within 5 days, so they should be a cooling off period. And then fixed term contracts. So the fixed term contract should not exceed 24 months unless the customer agrees for a longer period and it beneficially or at financial advantage. Then the other one, when the marketing and advertisement is done, it should be accurate and honest. Marketing material must be factual and accurate, avoiding misleading claims or false advertisement. There should be no bait marketing. Marketing cannot mislead consumers about prices of the availability of goods and services. So, in ethical marketing, business should adopt ethical marketing practices that respect customer rights and avoid unfair or deceptive tactics. And the pricing sales, when they're pricing the product they are selling, it should be clear. The price should be very clear to a customer, and there should be no gray goods. And then the quality and safety, when we're looking at the quality of and safety, the goods and service must meet predefined quality standard and be safe for their intended use. They must not provide to the customer defect resolution. A business should address defect or safety hazard promptly. Customer service and records, there should be detailed record. They should keep the records of all transactions to support compliance with CPA, and they must do the employee training to ensure all employees are trained on the CPA and how it applies in their work. And then consumer orientated culture, they should foster a culture where consumer rights is pervasive and always prioritized. Then promoting competition, there should be no misleading practice. That is, promoting must be fair and transparent, and the terms and conditions must be very clear and not be vague. So those are the kind of ways that they can ensure that they comply with CPA or Consumer Protection Act. Is obviously a number of things they can do. When we're looking at promotion, how do they promote? Are they not providing misleading information? The quality of the products that they are providing to the customer, does it meet the safety and the intended standard? The pricing in sales, the pricing must be very clear, as well as the cool-off period. The supplier must ensure that they meet the cool-off period. And then the next question is, discuss the impact of Labor Relations Act in the business. There are a number of impacts of the Labor Relations Act. But what I want us to understand is, what is Labor Relations Act, and then we can address the key impact of the Labor Relations Act in the business. And the reason that I'm saying we need to first discuss the Labor Relations Act is because I am preparing you for the exam, and we do not know exactly what is in that will be in that exam. For that reason, the preparation must be created in the way that you are able to adapt to any form of question, not only for the purpose of this exam, but for you to be well equipped and prepared for the upcoming test as well as the examination. So in South Africa, Labor Relations Act it significantly impacts the business by defining the legal framework for employer-employee relationship, including collective bargaining, trade unions' right, and dispute resolution. It's aimed to balance the rights of employers and employee, potentially increasing legal obligation for employers while also ensuring fairness and employee protection. So basically, Labor Relations Act it builds the two people and ensure that if they go through disagreement, they are solving the agreements in a way that is proper and fair for both the employer and employee. So what are the key impact of the Labor Relations Act and the business? It increased legal obligation. Employers they'll need to comply with numerous legal requirements that are including fair dismissal procedure, non-discrimination, and the right to form or join a trade unions. So the Labor Relations Act allows employees to form a trade unions in the workplace so that they can communicate the issues they're encountering either through discrimination or unfair procedures or unfair dismissal procedures. What else it does is enhance employee right. Employee gain legal right to organize, bargain collectively, and seek redress through the Council for Mediation and Abrogation to Unfair Labor Practice. So the Labor Relations Act is what is used in order to determine whether a person goes to the CCMA or not. And the importance of collective bargaining. The Labor Relations Act encourages and regulates collective bargaining where trade unions and employers negotiate terms and conditions of employment. Dispute resolution mechanism, the CCMA and Labor Court provide avenues for resolving labor disputes, ensuring formal process and addressing grievances. Impact of business flexibility. Some argue that the Labor Relations Act can reduce business flexibility, particularly in areas where hiring and firing due to infringement of legal requirements. Then importance of compliance. Businesses to ensure they are aware of and comply with all aspects of RA, including relevant case law, to avoid legal challenges. And then potential to enhance employee morale. The LRA emphasizes that the fair treatments and participation can lead to improved employee morale, motivation, and job satisfaction, and need for professional guidance. Business often benefits from seeking legal and legal advice to navigate the complexity of LRA and ensure compliance. Now, if we look and you just understand what we have here, Layer A, it's an act and it's quite difficult for some employers to understand. So, in most cases, they need to ask for advice in order to ensure they understand what is there. And then, when it's come to employee not being happy or being unfairly dismissed, they use that in the CCMA in order to justify whether the dismissal was fair or was not. Then we're going to look at the last one, which is 2.8. 2.8 said advise businesses on the strategic management process. As I've already said, we need to understand what is strategic management process before we can advise business on the process. The strategic management process is a systematic approach that organizations use to define and implement their strategies to achieve long-term goals. So it involves analyzing the current situation, setting the objectives, and developing strategies. Implement those strategies and then evaluate and adjust them based on the performance. Essentially, it's continuous cycle of planning, execution, and assessment. So strategic development, it's a very long journey. It's when the company they create strategy, they evaluate whether it work, and they find the ways to resolve whatever that is not working. Embrace what is working, and then what is not working, they find correction measures. Here, more details breakdown of the key strategy. It's defining organization vision and mission. This involves clarifying the organization purpose, values, and long-term inspiration. It sets the foundation for all subsequent strategic decisions. So defining organization a mission, that means with T, they set up the mission, they need to know why are they in the business from the first place. Situational analysis. This stage involves analyzing the organization, internal and external environment. Internal analysis focuses on strengths and weaknesses, while external analysis examines the opportunities and threats. So this analysis often involved using tools like SWOT analysis. So you're doing situation analysis, you analyze the strength of company, opportunity, weakness, and threat. Then strategy formulation based on the situation analysis and the organizational development. It's strategic goals and plans. This involve identifying key priorities, resource allocations, and overall approach to achieving the company vision. The strategy implementation is that is where you implement the strategy for the company. This stage involves putting the strategy into action. This include allocating resources, developing operational plans, ensuring that the organization activities are aligned with the overall strategy. And the fifth one, obviously, and that's going to be the last one we're going to look at. This involves monitoring the performance of the implementation strategy and making adjusted as needed. It includes measuring progress towards goals, identifying challenges, and implementing corrective action. This stage ensures the strategy remain relevant and effective and face changing circumstances. So, as I've already said, the strategic management process is when the company works on the SWOT analysis. They work on different plans for the company and evaluates them in the long run, or as they develop them to ensure that they are successful.